Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Women Unleashed podcast. We have your co hosts here, Taylor and Britt. This is part 2 of our episode with Tracy Keary as a guest. Today, we're going to talk all things safe haven.
Well, let's switch gears. I want to talk about Safe Haven that you're an ambassador for, the Brisbane ambassador. That's correct, right? Got that right. Queensland, not just Brisbane, yes. Queensland, sorry. So the Queensland ambassador for Safe Haven. So tell us what it's about.
Well, Safe Haven is to provide housing for women and children escaping coercive control. So first of all, I may just give you a bit of backstory on coercive control. Coercive control is a form of violence, but it's non-physical, potentially, at the start. So it's where someone controls the way you think, who your friends are, what you wear, they control your finances, they intimidate you, they bring you down, they isolate you, they actually track you. So they take away all of your belief in yourself and your self-esteem. So coercive control is really getting into the other person's mind and controlling everything they do. So for a lot of women, leaving a situation like that, their biggest fear is homelessness. Because where do you go if you're leaving the family home, and particularly when you've got children? So a lot of the shelters out there don't take women that are in coercive control situation because it's not physical abuse or sexual abuse, which is, it's still a form of abuse. Some of the shelters don't take women with boys over 11 because they're worried that they're boys with girls in a dormitory style accommodation. So once again, as a mother, what is your choice? You stay or you end up potentially on the streets. So Safe Haven is where you can either have accommodation in someone's home, someone can give up a room for you to come and stay, and it's called a Safe Haven. We have recently just built our first home in Brisbane, which is a safe haven for women to go to with their children, and they are allowed to stay there X amount of nights. And what Safe Haven does is offer them support. They get a caseworker. They may need counselling. They may need financial support. They may need help even just setting up a bank account. Like there's some of these women are completely trapped. And coercive control, what is quite sad, I think, about coercive control is it's only recognised in 2 states in our country as an offence, and that's Queensland and Tasmania. Now, I'm not sure about you or your listeners, but I'd like to think that if someone commits a crime against anybody, whether it's a person, a property or what have you, in any state of our country, it should be an offence nationally. It shouldn't just be state-based because abuse of any description is still abuse and it's still a crime. The numbers when you talk about homelessness, women are one of the biggest cohorts in our country at the moment, over 50 that are becoming homeless. A lot of this is due to violence, coercive control and domestic violence. The second biggest cohort is children between 12 and 24, which is even more staggering when you consider, and I can only kind of align that this is me with what the research I've done. If mum's leaving the home and she's homeless, where are the children going? So this issue is not just a state issue or a gender issue. This is a whole national issue, and we need to start solving this. So for me, it makes sense. Everyone deserves a safe haven, and it's your home, right? It's where you should be able to go to and feel safe. So what we're doing now is we've got a campaign called Buy a Brick, Build a Home, Save a Life. So for as little as $10, you can buy a brick that'll go towards building another safe home for women and children. The other statistic about coercive control that I think goes a little bit unmissed is coercive control, yes, it is verbal, but it also does a lot of damage, but it can lead very quickly and escalate to violence like that. So it starts out as verbal abuse or, controlling the partners, what they wear, who they hang out with, who their friends are, where they work, everything, and financially. But once the woman starts to, resist and tries to leave, it escalates to physical violence, and a lot of the time it ends up to death. So it escalates really quickly. So that is, for me, why I'm an ambassador for this charity. There are a lot of charities that support women and children and men that are in these violent situations, coercive control, physical, sexual abuse. But if we don't start doing something as a nation, it's going to get worse. And the issue we will then have is a lot of young women and men, children that are homeless, growing up in an environment that is not safe.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Sorry, I just wanted to add. I myself have been a victim of coercive control, not realising it when I was younger. But as I've understood it more, and I think if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes we may have seen it with other people. And I think a part of the coercive control or any form of violence is women call it out, but men need to call out their mates too. You know, like young men and young women. You know, there's young men now that we had a young man at one of our first events, and he said to his mum, he said, some of my mates are like that with their girlfriends, what they wear, who they talk to, you know, how they look, what they drink, all that sort of stuff. He said, I didn't realise. He said, now I'm going to start calling them out. Because if we don't, it's making that sort of behaviour acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it may
100%.
be like they might think, oh, they do one element of that and it's okay, but that's just how it starts.
Yes.
And they need to, there's a lot of education to go into, you know, the behaviours associated to that so that they do know what they're doing.
Exactly. And, you know, I think most people know right from wrong. But abuse on any level is not acceptable. And, you know, it might be how they grew up themselves. You know, there's lots of but there's no excuse for abusing someone and that you say you love. You know, I love you so they control you. That's not love.
Yeah. Also, like, is there education for women or like, and men who say like how to identify it? Because it, like, even at its very earliest stages.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's anything formal, but I guess with our events, because I raise money, we've been doing, this is our third year, we'll have events, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, without a lot of our industry colleagues get behind it. So education definitely is key. So having these events and talking about it, even in these forums like yours, gives people the opportunity to maybe find out about it and understand it. Because we don't, you know, once again, we don't know what we don't know. So if someone hears something about, if that's coercive control, then I think you start reflecting in your head going, I think so-and-so maybe it's been like that, or you might have even thought someone you were in a relationship with younger was a bit like that. Do you know, like there were signs, but you got out or you didn't know. Because a lot of the times with coercive control and domestic violence in general, it takes women up to 7 times to leave. So, you know, once again, you might say, why would you stay? But, you know, unless you're in that woman's shoes, you don't know what they're going through. With coercive control, they're saying things like, well, I'm going to harm the children, or I'm going to harm your family, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to post all this stuff I've got on you on social media. You know, it's complete playing with someone's mind to the point that they just feel like they can't go in, that there's no out. And fear, you know, it's fear driven.
That's the easiest way to control someone.
Yes.
Is to make them fearful.
Yeah. So, you know, I think there is a lot of work to be done, and Safe Haven, you know, we're making starts. Having our first safe home is amazing. But, you know, we need more. And you know, there's no government funding for a Safe Haven and for a lot of charities like, you know, Safe Haven. So it comes down to the general public, private sector, you know, to get behind it in any way that they can. And, you know, one brick of $10, you might go, that's not going to make a difference. But, you know, you get 100 people buying one brick. You know, you get 1,000 people buying a brick. You know, that we're on our way to building a home. That's the difference between someone having a safe place and not.
Incredible. So do you provide safe havens for men as well?
This one is women. And I'm not sure, like, we haven't. But, you know, there are men that are subjected to violence as well. It's not talked about, I would assume, as much. But at this stage, it is just women because, you know, I understand that men are victims too, but I guess if you're a woman that's come out of that the situation, you don't want to be with men. You know, you want to be, even though you're all victims.
Yeah, I get why they're not
Yeah, it's.
like you don't have men and women in the
But I
same
don't
house.
know if
Yeah.
I have to ask Janine at this stage. It's women, yeah, and children, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. And I would imagine that a lot of people that learn this, what coercive control is, would also go, whoa, like, but my mom did that or my dad did that and then I do that. And then
Yeah.
like, whoa, you know, like it's that education piece is so powerful because if you don't know that it is coercive control or it's where it starts, then you're going to keep repeating those
Yes,
patterns and behaviors that you learned as a
that's right.
child.
Because it is learned behaviours
Yeah.
to some extent. I mean, you could grow up in a family with it and go completely the other way because you're aware of it and you don't like it, you know, like the way it made you feel. But some people don't know how to break that cycle. So, you know, it just goes on
Yeah,
generationally. And, you know, we need to break
correct.
the
Yeah.
cycle. I mean, the statistics on women in the country at the moment, you would all see them at the hands of domestic violence. You know, there's 1 or 2 women being, you know, dying a week from it. I mean, it's got to stop. You know, and like I said, this isn't a you or me problem, or this is a national issue, and you know, more needs to be done around it.
Agreed. So tell us how people can support Safe Haven. When are your events? How do we buy a brick?
Yeah.
Tell us.
Okay, so there's our website, safehavencommunity.com.au. So you can go on there and buy a brick, $10 a brick. You can also do a $5 for a survivor. So, you know, you can put $5 in and, you know, $5 for a survivor. The other campaigns are you could donate, have $10 a week set up out of your pay every week as a donation, which a lot of people do donate to charities of choice. You can just make a one-off donation. We are having events in Brisbane on the 17th of September in George Street at Great Southern Bank head office. They're one of our sponsors in Brisbane. We're also having an event on the 28th of September in Sydney at AMP Building, which is our major sponsor for Sydney, and in Melbourne on the 12th of September, which is in the AMP Building again. I can give you all the links once they're all up, but I can also send you links for Safe Haven to make a donation. Obviously, if there's anybody out there that would like to be involved with the charity or has an event that they host each year and they're looking for a charity of choice, we'd love it to be us. We also have a store at Loganholme at the Emporium where it's all women's secondhand clothing, but most of it's designer clothing and shoes and bags. And so either you might have some clothes that you want to donate or you'd like to go and shop there. So there's lots of ways, but, you know, as I said, it might be somebody that's a PAYG employee. It's a tax deduction, any donation over $2. So you might feel inclined to say, you know what, instead of getting a coffee once a week, I'm going to put that $10 straight into Safe Haven every week and donate it. You know, it also makes a difference to Safe Haven and to saving a life potentially. But imagine how good it would make you feel to know you've done that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you can send to me through all the
fantastic.
info, we'll put it in the show notes so that people can access it, and we'll put it on social media as well so that people know what's happening and how to support it.
Thank you.
And are there other states that are developing or on their road to making coercive control an offence, or
I'm actually not sure. I need to research that a bit more, obviously, with our events coming up. But up until now, I haven't seen it because I keep up a lot on the news around this sort of stuff, obviously. I've seen nothing come out from any of the other states. And, you know, like I said, I just don't understand why this isn't a federal kind of offence.
I agree.
Do you know, like I don't know why it should be state-based, and that's something I don't understand with our legal system. But, you know, you would think that a crime in one state should be the same as a crime in another.
Yes, I know. We see that all over America,
Yes.
right? Like they have that piecemeal approach. And I think it takes someone's got to go first. And if it's not going to be supported at the federal level, then let's get state support. And then,
Of course.
and then that they all join in, hopefully. But for me personally, I'd really like to see the education piece kind of be beefed up and have both men and women learning about what a healthy relationship behaviors and what
Yes.
aren't healthy
And that's really what it
behaviours.
comes down to.
Yeah, because that's what we want for everyone, right? Like, you know, it's great that the legislation is there and that it's an offence, but it's a stick. You know, it's we want to go back to the other end and say, hey, how do we deal with this before it becomes an issue?
Exactly. And education's anything, isn't it? What you know, once again, what you don't know. But once you kind of are aware of it, you can't go back then. So, you know, since I've come on the journey with Safe Haven, and I've supported different domestic violence charities for a long time. My mum helped set up a refuge in Maryborough, you know, when I was 7 years old. So, you know, I've been a part of just that kind of community of helping women and being aware of some things aren't right, do you know, even from a young age. So, you know, there's always issues raising money around it. There's a lot of stigma still around it, but it's real. And, you know, until we understand more or why or how and people actually know about it, then you can't walk away from it. Because once you know it, you'll go, oh, if you hear, like even when I'm out, if I hear someone talking, sometimes I go, he's controlling her. Like I have to really, I don't approach them because I go, I don't know, but I'm really attuned to just being a bit more open about it and sort of understanding, is that person safe? I just watch and, you know, I'll see what goes on. So, you know, once you're aware, your awareness is it's everywhere then. So you kind of can't shut it down. And once I think more and more people become aware, that's when change does really happen in a bigger wave.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you. That was great. And we will definitely put more information out there for everyone to see, especially about the events. Hopefully people can make it. Yeah.
Great.
Britt, do you want to?
Thanks. Yeah, Tracy, thanks for your passion. Like, it's just so wonderful to, you know, be given your energy for mortgage broking and for Safe Haven, and, you know, just keep doing what you're doing. You're very inspirational. So thank you for joining us on our podcast, and yeah, we look forward to hearing how all of your ventures go in the future.
Thank you. I really appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me on, Britt and Taylor. You know, I hope that one of your listeners or your listeners out there enjoyed it, and, you know, even with the Safe Haven, you know, maybe themselves, if they feel like they're not sure or they need some help, feel free to reach out. But thank you. I've really enjoyed this, and I hope I've shared some insights for you all, just maybe something that's tweaked your interest.
Cool.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Well, look, thanks everyone for listening today, and please follow us on Facebook, Instagram. I think we have a LinkedIn too, and a TikTok now, thanks to Taylor. She's just got us everywhere. So yeah, have a great evening, everyone, and we'll be back in another fortnight.
Bye.
Bye.